All right, well now it needs to get explained and be explained. What is an emotional adjustment in acting? So what actually can happen in acting is that you can use emotional preparation in an advanced way. Now, if you use it in an advanced way, you can actually go into your emotional preparation. Now, emotional preparation is emotional self-stimulation. So you do whatever it is that gives you that emotional stimulation. Now, the adjustment, the emotional adjustment, is something that you go back into. So let's say you go and work in your acting, and you go and do an exercise, and you start to notice in your acting journals that basically there's a lot of things about this work, and there's a lot of things about emotional adjustment, because there's huge arguments about it. Because the thing is that everyone says emotional, as soon as you use the term emotional preparation, you have to use the term emotional preparation in a certain way, according to some people. So, but the problem is that you're using emotional preparation, and some people call it actor preparation. And other people say that it's different names. So, whatever you want to call it, it's an emotional adjustment. It's something that you're going to work with to be able to work with your emotions. And you're going to take that emotion and you're going to put it into your work. Now, there's techniques to be able to carry your emotion into your work, but the biggest thing is that it ends up there. And there's many different ways to be able to work with emotions in acting. And there has to be understood that there is. So, you take your emotional adjustments and you've worked on your acting, and you realize, or the director's given you a direction. So that they're saying that the direction is good, but there needs to be a little bit more of a certain emotional color. Then you go back to yourself in your emotional preparation, or your emotional adjustment, or your actor preparation, and you go into yourself and you self-stimulate that desired area with more focus. Now, can you talk to yourself when you're in that bubble? Yes, of course. You've got to self-direct. It's not really talking to yourself. You take yourself in your emotional preparation. Well, let's call it emotional preparation, because it's the whole topic's incredible. But the thing is that you go into this thing. You go into this thing and you get yourself upset in the right area that's needed for the scene. Now, you can't play the emotion. You're not there to be able to say, you don't go and take that emotion and then say that emotion is the only thing that the scene's going to be. That's not acting. That's not the acting that maybe is recommended. You could do that if it's written in certain ways. You could write, if the writer's written that that's the direction of the actor, then that would be the correct thing to do. But if you're working in an acting exercise in general, what you want to do is you want to be able to have your emotion and you want to bring it in. So you bring your emotional baggage to the door of your exercise, or the door of your scene. And then you make it available for your partner. So you make it available to your partner to be able to work off of, and then you work off of whatever is present in front of you. So you deal with the emotional adjustment in a way that this is the trial and error of emotional preparation for a lot of actors. So you're constantly working to be able to see if that's the emotional adjustment that you need to make. Now, let's say you've been working on an emotional preparation, and it's been really working in you, and you have it kind of alive, and you've been working on it for a few days, and it's possible that you're working on it for a few days, but again, this is advanced. And it's possible that you've only been thinking about it for a few days, which is more likely, because a lot of times people think about the ideas and then they try and play the idea. But let's say you've gotten past the idea and you've gotten past the flirting feelings that you get when you're doing the work to be able to get yourself ready for acting. And let's say you've got an emotion. You got a real feeling, you got a real knack for it. Then you take that knack and you maybe you work with it, but the knack wasn't exactly what you needed. Then you go back to yourself. You don't blame the other actor. You go back to yourself and you see what other adjustment you might be able to make. Now, the adjustment that you might be missing, which is often the case, is it might be motivation. Maybe you have the proper emotion. Maybe you have the proper resonance. You maybe have this resonating thing inside of you. But what you don't have is you don't have the motivation. So what you have is you have your emotional preparation that's there. And it's inside of you and it's alive. But what you don't have is a means to carry that emotional preparation into your acting. Now, the same thing can happen if you don't add meaning to your emotional preparation. So you take emotional preparation, you go into yourself, you might have been working on this for a couple days or even just a few hours, and you work on this and you work on this and you add the ingredient of meaning. Now, in your internal self-talk, so that is your self-guided awareness when you're in emotional preparation. When you're in this self-guided awareness, you look at yourself and you start to understand that you maybe have a meaning that goes into it. What does it mean to you is the question to ask. So you come up with the meaning. You isolate the meaning. You know exactly what that is. You invite that meaning to be in your emotional preparation work. And you allow it to sit there, and then you let that meaning, and you bring that meaning to you, add to the door or to the work or to the scene. So you don't have to worry about bringing the emotion because the emotion you've now tied to the meaning. See how this is working? You'll be able to add. This is an emotional adjustment. Sometimes you have to adjust the emotion. Sometimes you have to adjust your reason. Sometimes you have to adjust your meaning. Sometimes you have to adjust your motivation. Sometimes you have to adjust an urgency, which is not often, but it depends on the work. So whatever you have to adjust, you adjust, and you put that in yourself, and then you trust the element is going to be able to carry that through. Now, a lot of times, there are appropriate times where you decide. Now, when I say appropriate, I mean that it's appropriate in your decision as the actor to decide whether or not you want to work in a certain way. So you're in your own preparation, and this is your experimentation that you're trying to be able to test to see if you can find experience with it. So you find something that you know you're working with, and then you realize that you're able to add an urgency. Perfect. Now you could choose to work with motivation, which could be the urgency, or it could be a separate thing. You could choose to work with meaning, or you could choose to work with just simply urgency. So you add to your emotional preparation the storyline that you need to be able to get somewhere, which you need to be able to get somewhere to get into the scene. Totally viable. So you add that ingredient into your emotional preparation, and then you allow that urgency to carry you forward, and then you get into the scene or you get into the door. Now, if you're working in these things called doors and activities, which used to be called ins and outs in New York City, what you want to do is you want to take that urgency or the meaning, whatever you've decided to put into it, and you want to put that into the knock. You put that into the knock. And then when you get into the work, you emotionally release that onto your partner. Try not to physically release it onto your partner. Emotionally release it onto your partner. So how is that going to look? It looks however it looks. How is it going to experience? It's going to be an experience of release. Nearly every time. So you bring in your emotion. You've got your emotion. Now you've got to understand the element of this because this is vital for your work. And you take Emotion is this placid, still lake of water or a pond. It can be very, very still. Now, it can be very powerful to work with emotion. But you really want to be able to look at it as being like a large body of water. And the more that you be able to work with the feelings and you tantalize the elements of awakeness and awareness in life, then you'll be able to get collection of that water. And it's called emotional preparation, or you can call it actor preparation, or you can call it emotional adjustment's a different thing, but you get the idea that it's emotion. Now the emotion needs the other ingredients to be able to carry it through into your acting work. So try this out and experiment with it. It's your acting career. You're the one that's going to be working with it. This is your technique that you're developing. It might be called a legacy technique or some kind of thing, or it might be called whatever. But the reality is, it's your acting. So you get to choose what it is that you're going to be and how it is that you're going to be able to work with it. So make good choices and tell me how it goes in the comments if you'd like to. All right?